All right, this is lesson 3 in module 4. We're going to talk about part and whole and percent. So last year you may have learned the formula part over whole equals percent over 100. You may or may not have learned the is over of equals percent over 100, but I'm going to explain a little bit about that. Notice the is in the same place as the part. The of is in the same place as the whole. Now, this year I'm going to introduce this equation instead of the proportion that says part equals percent times whole. And since is the part, I listed that underneath there. And of is the whole, so I listed it underneath there. So we're going to use both of those equations throughout this whole lesson. All right, part A says, what is the whole in each scenario? So the whole is, if you look down on the bottom, your of statement. So let's take a look at the first one. I'm going to have you underline 15 is. I'm going to have you circle what percent and put a box around of 90. Now, the reason I have you do that is the is the part, that's 15. We don't know the percentage. And the of is the whole, which is 90. So in this case, our whole is 90. All right, next one. What number is, I'm going to circle the percent and put a box around the of. The of is the whole, which would be 56. Next one, I have 90%, which I'm going to circle, of a number is 180. So the of this time is with the number, so we don't know. So this is going to be the whole, which is our unknown number. We use a variable for that. All right, a bag of candy contains 300 pieces. 25% are red. So the 300 pieces would be your whole. The part that's red is your part. So this is the total candy. And you can say that's 300. All right, 70% is your percent. All right, my computer just died and went black, so hopefully you are picking up right where we left off. We have 70% of the students earned a B on the test. So of all of the students, the part that earned the B would be your part. So your whole would be your total students. All right, 20 girls in the class represents 55% of all students in the class. So your whole would be all students in your class. Once again, total students. All right, part B. Now we have to identify the part, the percent, and the whole. So let's read through this. The percentage is always the easiest one because it has a percent sign. So this one is 40% of all students on the trip love the museum. So the people that love the museum is your part. All the students on your trip is the whole. So there are 20 students on the trip. That's your whole. And your part is what we don't know. That's what we're trying to find. How many people love the museum? All right, percentage is easy to find. 40% of all the students on the trip, so that's your whole, love the museum, that's your part. So now we know that 20 love the museum, that's your part. We don't know the total on the trip. 20 students on the field trip love the museum, that's your part. 40 are on the trip total. What percent? We don't know. That's our X value. All right, so let's go to the next page now. We're going to practice finding the percentage of wholes and stuff like that. So we're going to start off with example 1 that says, what is 20% of 120? Now, we're going to underline what is. We're going to circle the percent and put a box around the of. So remember, the is your part. The of is your whole. The percentage is obviously labeled with a percentage. Now, before we even start this, We have to identify the part, the percent, and the whole. So the part we don't know because it says what is. The percentage is the one with the percent sign, which is 0.20 because you have to move it over 2 spots to make it a decimal. And in the equation, you want it to be a decimal. The whole is your of, which is 120. Now, of course, you already know that I like to create boxes. This is my box. Now I'm going to write the equation that was on the front page. So part equals percent times whole. And yes, I did abbreviate that, and it's okay if you do too. All right, so our part is X. Our decimal is 0.20. And our whole is 120. So I'm going to bring in our calculator. And I'm going to do 0.20 times 120, which is 24. So that's 24 is the part. All right, let's try that again. So 12 is what percent of 80? So the is the part, the of is the whole, and then obviously the percent is the one with the percent sign. So part, percent, and whole, let's identify. The part is 12, percent is X, whole is 80. So let's set up our equation. Part equals percent times whole. So we have 12 is equal to X times 80. Now we want to solve for X, just like we did yesterday. We're going to divide both sides by that number so that they cancel out. So 12 divided by 80 is 0.15. Now that's not my answer. That's the decimal form. So we're going to move it over twice. And the percentage is 15%. All right, example 3. Now we're going to do word problems. Same exact procedure, but word problems. This time it says 20% of all the students, that's your whole, earned an A. So the part that earned the A is the part. Now, 30 students are in the class. That's your whole. How many got an A? That's your part. So part, percent, and whole. Percentage is easy because it has a percent sign. Move it over to form a decimal. Your whole is 30. Your part is X. So part equals percent times whole. Your percent is 0.20. Your whole is 30. So 0.20 times 30 gives us 6 students that got the A on the test. All right, I'm going to have you try one on your own. So you're going to hit pause. Try exercise 1. When you're done, just make sure that you have the answer correct. All right, so Ty's art class, we have 12% of all projects. That's your whole. The perfect scores are the part. So 25 were total. That's your whole. We want to know how many earned perfect scores. That's your part. So let's do part, percent, and whole. So we have 12%. Don't forget to change it to a decimal by moving it over twice. Your whole is 25. That's the total art projects. And your part is X. Those are the perfect scores. So our equation is part equals percent times whole. So 0.12 times 25 is 3. So 3 were perfect scores. All right, and the last one we're going to complete today is example 4. It says that in the English class, 70% of the students that completed it, so of all students, did it by the due date. That's your part. So there were 30 students in the class. That's your whole. How many completed it by the due date? That's your part. So part, percent, and whole. The part is the X. The percentage is 70%, which is 0.70. And your whole were all the students in the class, which was 30. So part equals percent times whole. So X is 0.70. Whole is 30. So 0.70 times 30 is 21. So that's 21 completed by due date. All right, that's it for this lesson. Day 1. We will do day 2 tomorrow.